Now, I'd like to ask Marek Wasilewski to take the floor. Marek studied or graduated from the Academy of Fine Arts in Poznan. Now it's called Artistic University in Poznan. But he also studied in London, St. Matthew's College of Art and Design. And first of all, he's an artist, but he's also a lecturer. So there are several lectures he had given both in Darlington College of Art in the UK and in the States as well, Florida Atlantic University, as well as Konstfack in Stockholm and European School of Arts in Poznan. Marek currently has been employed at the University of Poznan at Department of Arts. Since 2013, he is the head of interdisciplinary postgraduate studies. Oh, he used to be. Why was? The studies are finished. So since 2017, he's also the director of the City Gallery, Arsenal City Gallery in Poznan, where there are very, very special activities going on there, lectures, exhibitions, different activities. So the floor is yours. So, good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me today. Well, with Michel, we've known each other ever since Michel lived in Poznan. I'm still a Poznanian, says Michel, but he moved here to the center of New America, and I stayed at the province. Now I came here to the capital of New America to tell you what is going on, what we do in our little village of Poznan. I'm using the word village because Poznan is a city which is not it's not a big agglomeration. It has 500,000 inhabitants, but there is a fantastic magazine that is published here, which is titled Village Poznan. So Arsenal Municipal Gallery is a municipal institution of art, and I think that this is very important, taking into account its programming assumptions. It's not a private gallery, it's not a modern art museum, it's a local authority institution of art, where in the context of self-government of city inhabitants has a certain role to fulfill. It is an element of a certain network of interconnections together with other social and art institutions, but also with a very well-developed network of non-governmental organizations. And we are a part of a certain puzzle. For me, personally, it is very important that with a very happy coincidence, our city gallery, our municipal gallery in 1962 was located at the very center of the old marketplace, in the most prestigious key place in the center of medieval center of the city, where all roads cross. There is a town hall nearby. That's a place where everyone walks around. So that's a modern building from 1962. In this picture, you can see that the background of this pavilion is all glaze. There is glass everywhere, so you can see everything when you walk outside. But when you sit inside, you can see what is happening outside as well. When in 2017 I started working in this gallery, being its director, I thought that this is a very important guideline, that we need to leads to a situation where there is osmosis between what is outside and inside. That it cannot be just an exhibiting space. It should not be an art space, gallery. It should be something more similar to an agora, that it should be restored to the marketplace in this tradition where people used to meet at the marketplace to discuss things. Simultaneously, what is very important, this is still a place of art, because art is a territory where people can meet and overcome differences and conflicts that often refer to themselves. So that was our pre-assumption. I'm not going to tell you about the program of our exhibitions, our artistic programs, because I wanted to focus more on what we do together with our audience. During different actions that go beyond the area of art, but also verge with art and are related with different programming exhibitions that we hold. There are some points that I wanted to discuss, I wanted to show you or discuss, that we were very active when Białowieża forest was destroyed. We were vividly engaged in protests. We organized an auction. Artists donated their works, and all gains were allocated to supporting the activists that were chaining themselves to the trees to prevent this oldest primordial Polish forest from being destroyed. We also organized different auctions, several auctions for autistic children. And this is also very interesting because there are people attending these auctions who are not regular gallery visitors. It's more often attended by people who want to spend their money on a good purpose, but they are not very much interested in art. And the auctions, during these auctions, we don't sell very ambitious art, let's be honest, but there is this community of people created around them who, on the one hand, are somehow interested in art, but they are also especially willing to help those who are especially in need of this help. And these auctions are really highly successful, to the point that we are unable to fit in all the people who attend these. Another action that we organized, a self-help action to support our colleague who was diagnosed with cancer, so to support her treatment. Our Poznanian artists collected different works, and there were also people, a big group of people who wanted to buy these pieces of art to help our friends. A marathon of writing letters to Amnesty International. That speaks for itself. No need to comment it, but this is also an element of our agora. We do that in the center of the town, in the marketplace. People come and write letters. Another very important story, an interesting story related to the art of mediation. Presentations which are developed by mediators from regional court in Poznan. So you might think it has nothing to do with art as such, but only seemingly, because this is an incredible performance, because these presentations are performative examples of different cases that were held in the courts, provided with the commentary how you can mediate between the people who meet in a court. So I think that was a very interesting action. And we have several other initiatives, such as collecting books for prisoners, or gathering food for dog shelters. So these are activities we've been doing continuously. Currently in our bookstore, we are collecting things for the Polish Red Cross because they are to be brought to the eastern border of Poland to help with the refugees crisis. When last year there were women's protests rolling throughout Poland, gallery was a place where girls would come and paint their transparents, because that was a place where there was a lot of space, and once the gallery itself was closed, they were free to use the space. So our gallery remains open and it listens to different ideas and initiatives. We've been trying to be very flexible and make our artistic program not to hinder, not to be an obstacle to whatever is going on around us, and that we could quickly respond to anything that goes around. Here we have a slide from meetings. Various meetings that we held in our gallery with some outstanding artists, for example, but also meetings with an imam from the Cultural Muslim Center in Poznan, from this project Paths of Integration. We gave this space to the imam from Poznan for him to tell to the inhabitants of Poznan what Islam is, how similar it is to Christianity, what are the differences, what the manipulations of media on Muslims are, how media present them. So these meetings attract huge numbers of people because on the one hand they are currently very, very vivid and up-to-date, not only in Poland but also globally, and there are several questions related to that. So this is the place where people could openly ask about their concerns and get a reliable answer from a reliable source. A meeting that I would very well remember, it was a meeting with Agnieszka Arnold, a film director, during an exhibition of artist Tarasiewicz. She showed a film about the soldiers of the underground army in the eastern area, where very often these soldiers they originated from nationalistic groups, and very often they were murdering Ukrainians and Belarusians. And Leon Tarasiewicz dedicated his exhibition to one of these murders. And during one of these meetings, there was a group of nationalists, Młodzież Wszechpolska, a very Nazi-sympathizing group wearing black with swastikas and so on. And they watched the film together and got involved into a discussion later on. And it was very important and interesting for us because we could discuss our discussions. We could discuss our different perceptions on what is heroism and what is patriotism. And I think that meeting really enriched them and made them think somehow. They were less confident about their truths than before they had come there to the meetings, because their intention beforehand had been clearly to make it impossible for this meeting to happen. We also make different festivals and workshops for children and their parents. So we are not only organizing meetings with children, but we try to involve all families, all generations to come to the gallery and create together in mixed groups. And recently, we've been more and more involved in working with senior citizens, with elder citizens who get involved in the life of our gallery in a very interesting way, and they are also very avid and alert observers of our exhibitions. Let me mention a few more projects we've been doing over the last years. So for the last 2 years, we've been involved in a project together with our Norwegian and UK partners, which is briefly called Extinct. It refers to a situation in a city and places on our planet, but it focuses on the life in the city, where you observe that some species disappear and there are some others appearing. So this problem of extinction, that is a problem, a cultural problem, and new beings coming into existence, animals migrating to the cities under the pressure from humans and climate. So new species coming up. So this project involves artists, sociologists, and biologists. And now we have an exhibition in our gallery that summarizes the work of artists, and we are working on developing a publication. And we've also had several workshops. This is one of the workshops in a forest from the woods. There was a trip made to find an American boletus type. So all Poles love collecting mushrooms, and for each Pole finding this American boletus, it's a shock finding this American parachuter in a way. So because of globalization, these fungi, they travel as well, and they are invasive species which have no competition in Polish forests, and they tend to remove our native species. Another example are also Asian ladybirds. They are different and more voracious, more invasive than our Polish ladybirds. It also processes out. So we made this project. We created this box which resembles a ladybirds, and it allows us to get into this box and get into the shoes of this Asian ladybird. So this is the embodiment of this Asian ladybird. This year we also held a very interesting workshop on Warta River in Poznan. Maybe you wouldn't believe that this is the center of Poznan, but it is the center of Poznan from the perspective of river. We were observing the life of beavers from the perspective of beavers rather than humans. This is why we hopped on our kayaks to look at the life on the river from the river. Not traditionally when you approach the river from the bank and watch what happens on the river. Beavers are a protected species in Poland, but they are not entirely protected for various reasons. There is a permission to destroy and kill beavers either in a direct or indirect way. While their presence in different waterways in cities and not only is really very helpful because they prevent floods, they regulate the river in a very positive, natural way that contributes to our safety. But on the other hand, the human aesthetics is somehow affected here. This is why beavers are sometimes persecuted as vermin that destroy trees. Because from our human perspective, everything scattered around these trees look in an untidy way. This is yet another activity we carried out last September. This is the old stadium in Poznan that was taken over by nature. For many years, the stadium hasn't been used. Now there are several old trees in this place. So this is a natural refugee for nature in the center of the city. So we were just planting daffodil bulbs. So there are several species which are typically cultivated in the cities, but they seeded themselves and created their own world there. And a very important historical fact out there is that this stadium during the Second World War used to be a Nazi labor camp where there were prisons. Prisoners, different Jews from different cities and towns all around Poznan. They were brought there and often executed there. Not only an artist, she created a place of celebrating the thoughts and remembrance, but which would also be dedicated to nature. So it would celebrate what happens with our climate. So Joanna Siekierska, she wanted to give voice and space to natural processes going there.
The symbolic initiation of the project was implantation of 2,000 flower bulbs, symbolizing the number of prisoners imprisoned in the camp. This particular flower, yellow flower that was actually daffodil, that it's a symbol introduced by Marek Edelman, who Marek Edelman used to celebrate the anniversary or to commemorate the anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising by bringing daffodils to the commemorative monument. So hopefully in April they will all come up. This area is going to look a bit different. It will not be so green, but the flowers will be there. We're waiting for them to appear and to emerge. Another project that I would like to tell you about is called Revolution Workshop. In 2018, the fact that it took place in this particular year is important because that was the important anniversary of 1968 events in France and all over Europe. It is associated with the student revolts, with important radical changes in the ways of thinking, in politics, in relationships in the world. We implemented this project together with the Teatr Ósmego Dnia, the theater of the 8th day, an important theater, alternative theater in Poznan. We transformed our exhibition space into a theater space, and the theater became the space for exhibition. And there were quite a lot of discussions, workshops going on this occasion with the participation of different groups from abroad. We wished to show the ways in which revolutions can be embodied right now. We didn't want to talk about the revolution that took place then, but to think about how we can revolt and carry out a revolution in 2018 and beyond. Here you see several pictures from our workshop for the Roma children. We usually go to them. It's a kind of challenging community. They do not trust outsiders easily, so we have to put a lot of effort to make them want to collaborate with us. This is the second stage when he finally managed to persuade Roma parents that children can come to the art gallery, that nothing bad will happen to them there. And we watched a movie by Izabela Gustowska made in 1980 about the relative markers of similarity. And then we had a workshop on similarities, on imitation. Another picture of our actions with Roma children, the magical involvement in a project from 2020. We focused on ecological issues, but also on groups in rural areas around Poznan who are involved in creating handicraft products and developing ecological, environmental thinking. The main exhibition was a giant spider, which was created together by the groups and the artist Paweł Błęcki. You can see the artist here in the Roma children camp facilitating a workshop on creating such spiders. One of the first projects that I was involved with in the gallery, the exhibition. Let's talk about trash. It was interesting because actually this exhibition is a book. First, we had a book. This project was part of the architectural biennale in Venice, and for that occasion, we actually transformed the book into an exhibition when the pages from the book became objects to be inspected, to be exhibited. Another very important project, creative sickness states, focusing on HIV, AIDS and cancer. This project was facilitated by the artists who experienced these sicknesses, but they collaborated with groups groups of people, associations of people who went through such experiences. For example, women who lost breasts had to undergo a mastectomy. Usually, such groups are pretty conservative. There are people, women, middle-aged women who may go to the church. They are not for them, meeting with an artist and coming across ideas, experiencing the fact that there are so many family similarities between them and the artist who also who had this experience. The idea was to show that the sickness is not only a crisis, but it's actually an extraordinary state which facilitates the emergence of creativity, of certain creativity, and the new novel ideas to deal with things in life. And perhaps the last project, an exhibition created by two groups, girls from Poznan and Koven from Berlin. The groups consist of very young artists. The idea was to create a giant bedroom within the gallery space. The most important things during the exhibition happened overnight, and people could register to attend certain nights, but you had to bring your own pajamas and your toothbrush. People came wearing their PJs, they were lying down on the beds, and in that setting there were discussions, exhibitions, film projections. Of course, we've been accused that we are organizing orgies in the gallery, but it was not the only accusation that we had to face from the right-wing groups. So that didn't actually shock us. The local regional television actually broadcast a program about the supposed orgy that we organized, but very soon the artists involved in the project took over this very idea of the movie and used it in their art. So that will be it from me. Thank you.
Bardzo dziękujemy. Jesteśmy w niedoczasie.
Thank you very much. We are running out of time, but we didn't want to stop our presenters. Their interventions and contributions were fascinating. I would like to congratulate Marek. We are not only talking about leaving this ivory tower, museums and galleries. It seems that museums and galleries are actually one of those few places that still are there within the public sphere and that are free, something that we tend to forget. These spaces facilitate participation, but I think that Marek was also right that people are for the people from Germany, perhaps you might not be familiar with the problem that Marek was facing with the right-wing fascist neo-Nazi groups that were actually trying to attack them. The processual activities and actions that are being held in Arsenal, the art gallery in Poznan, are very rarely reflected in politics, in public life. Usually the topics that the gallery is addressing are novel things that are not resonating yet within Polish politics and public opinion. So perhaps this periphery, your being the periphery in relation to Słupwód, makes you more freer to be involved in such topics.